apparently semi-permanent and temporary colors are okay. They're not actually damaging, but the permanent hair dye is the bad one. Once you stop using that, your scalp actually starts breathing again, and you actually have new hair growth. So those are not broken off hairs. Those are all new hair growth is sprouting up. That's number one. Number two is we need more moisture. When you see that happening, there isn't enough moisture because the hair is dry, or you have to really saturate it during your wash day. Use a deep conditioner. If you never used one before, you need to start using a deep conditioner, which is very moisturizing.
Welcome to Zestful Aging, where I speak with fascinating people from all over the world, from every walk of life, who will inspire you to live with zest. I'm your host, Nicole Christina, and my mission is to bring you optimism about aging and help you make full use of the new opportunities that only come at this stage of life. To find out more about the podcast, hop on over to zestfulaging.com. And while you're there, sign up for my weekly email newsletter, The Insider, where you will get fun and quirky tidbits about the show and my exploits, including when I went python hunting in Florida and my participation in the National Senior Games. And if you love the podcast, I'd be grateful if you shared it with your friends. Our music is courtesy of Judy Banker, who was a previous guest on the show. Find out more at judybanker.com. And our technical director is Stephen Litweiler. Hey, Zesties. Hey, check out my brand new YouTube channel. I'm sharing Zestful Aging longevity tips, usually while hiking with my dogs, but I'm also sharing about the upcoming guest, the one that's coming up the Saturday following, and I get to tell you some inside stuff about them and what you're going to enjoy about their interview. So come on over, check it out. It's under Zestful Aging on YouTube, and I look forward to seeing you there. Well, today we're going to talk about older hair. And I stopped dyeing years ago. The expense, the time, the toxic chemicals, it just didn't seem worth it. And the gray streaks are fine with me, although they are coarser than my original color, which can cause them to go in very funny directions, like in my eyes when I'm on Zoom. So that's a bit of something I'm getting used to. But today we're going to talk to Dr. Gaby Longsworth, who's a scientist and biotech, pharmacological or pharmaceutical patent attorney, who, after chemically straightening her hair for years, decided there had to be a healthier way to style and manage her naturally curly hair. So she used her scientific background to study hair, and we're going to talk to her about all things aging hair. And I'm delighted to have you on the show, Gaby.
Thank you so much, Nicole. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
So I'm curious because I don't know if this is true. It might be something I believe, but it seems like women have an actual relationship with their hair. And I'm just wondering how you would describe your relationship with your own hair over the years.
Yeah, that is such an important point. And I completely agree with you that women have a unique relationship with their hair, perhaps because hair, it seems in society, hair for women is sort of seen as a beauty symbol in an interesting way. And I think that's taught from a young age. I think for me, when I was very young, I had very long, straight hair. And then as I went into the teenage years, as so many other teenage girls before me, the hormones sort of made my hair curl, and it curled quite a bit. I'm biracial, so I have many different curl types on my head.
Existing at the same time?
all at the same time. And I have very fine hair strands mixed in with very coarse hair strands. I mean, it's just an interesting situation going on.
Oh, wow.
But when I was a teenager, I was very much into sports and not really that interested in my hair. So I always cut it pretty short, whatever was the easiest to take care of it. I also grew up in South America in a very, very humid and hot place, Suriname. So it was just not very feasible for a busy teenager to have long hair, really, or to even figure out what to do with their hair. So I kept it pretty short. But then as I came to the States for college and sort of went through college and grad school, sort of becoming, what's the word, I guess, becoming in touch with other circles of people, shall I put it that way? Folks that were in grad school, for example, folks that came from Yale and Princeton and Harvard and all the top schools.
The beautiful people.
The beautiful people.
Mhm.
And I felt as years went by, I was always sort of the only one, who looked like me. And I got more self-conscious about my hair, not to have wild curls, but to tame them, to make them look more like the other girls' hair, women's hair. And so that's when I started doing the chemical treatments and trying to force it into submission, not really knowing how to take care of it otherwise. And I went through that for a while, for a long time, especially when I started at the law firm, which is, as you can imagine, I was like literally the only person on the legal side with my hair type. So I've had this long relationship, and then I think just gaining more confidence and becoming older, and really kind of losing that imposter syndrome, sort of started thinking, why am I doing this? This is not healthy. All these chemicals, all the dyeing. I started turning gray very early, and that was also a no-no on top of the curly hair.
Oh, right.
So I kind of had a double whammy. And then I finally came to that realization, and I confess it took way too long. I should have known better as a scientist how unhealthy this stuff is. Permanent dye and chemical straighteners are, linked to so many cancers.
Mhm.
And finally stopped. And now I feel so free and so happy that I did that I'm embracing my gray curly hair. Well, I call it my silver curls.
It must be complicated, I think, as somebody, a woman of color, wanting to not have to mold into the beauty standard, the mainstream. But the reality is discrimination exists, right? So that sounds like a real tension.
It is a real tension, and it's especially the case, I would say, in professional careers. For example, I'm in the legal field, so for attorneys, they're just unspoken standard, not just in the legal field, other areas as well. And I'm lucky in one sense that my curls are more like a type 3 type curl, which is sort of softer waves and curls, some tight curls, but a bunch of looser curls too, and not as coily as, for example, type 4 hair, which most Black women have. And that's where they get terribly discriminated against. And there actually will be comments from people. People feel that they have the right to say to people, this is how you're going to show up at work. Or I read on LinkedIn, a woman interviewed for a professional job, and for the interview, she, did all kinds of straightening to her hair to fit in. Once she got the job, based on her credentials, which were stellar, after a few months, she reverted to her natural hair and I think came in with braids or something like that, something that's easier for her to manage. And she was told, oh, you tricked us, which this happens every day. And that's why the Crown Act, was passed in a few states, but it's only in a few states in the US. It's not every state. So some places can still discriminate based on someone's natural hair texture.
That's quite unbelievable. It's
Yeah.
just in this day and age. I think about some of the celebrities in our world who have African American roots or different ethnicities, and many of them still straighten. And I mean, even Michelle Obama,
Yes.
who is, many of us so appreciate her values. I just wonder how you make decisions about this. How do you figure
Mhm.
out, am I going to let my hair go gray even though there's age discrimination? Am I going to let my hair do its curly thing even though there's race discrimination? I mean, what do you think goes into making a decision like that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think for a lot of women in the Black community, sort of growing up, the chemical relaxers come out pretty early. I want to say probably like around age 8.
Mm.
Because a lot of times their mothers, their parents don't know how to handle that coily hair either. They were never taught. It's sort of passed down, from generation to generation. It's like a rite of passage that now you can start your chemical relaxers and have the nice, wavy, straight hair like the white girls.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's so sad about it, because then starts that cycle of the chemicals, which are terrible for our health.
Mm-hmm.
So I think now with the natural hair movement and more and more celebrities are starting to embrace their natural hair and showing it off. At least young girls see that.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have more of the confidence and there's more momentum. You're not the only one doing it. So you have
Yes.
support, right? You need that support group.
Yeah.
But also a lot more education about ingredients and products to use and techniques and how important all of that is and how manageable the hair is if you know what to do with it. I think a lot of times it's just they have no idea what to do and they just think it's easier to chemically straighten when the opposite is true.
I see. Hi, everyone. Have you listened to my interviews with Dr. Bill Rawls? He's been on the show twice. And after I read his book on cellular health and learned about his high standards for quality control, I was sold. I placed an order for Vital Plant supplements immediately. And I encourage you to learn about his work by hopping over to vitalplan.com. If you enter Zestful15, they will give you 15% off your first order. I'm excited for you to try these products. I think you're going to be very impressed. Now back to the show. So, as a scientist, can you tell us a little bit about some of the disadvantages or the health concerns with some of these chemicals?
Absolutely. So there are a bunch of studies that came out from the NIH and the New England Journal of Medicine and some other organizations over the last several years. This is really nothing new. This started back in 2017, if not earlier. It's just that it's more in the news now.
Mhm.
But there were several studies that were done with I think it's called the Black women cohort. It's like 30,000 plus Black women that they sort of followed over the years. Because, of course, you can't actually do scientific experiments on humans. We can't just slather you in something and see what happens like we would do with mice. So all these studies are just trying to find correlations and looking back in time. That's the best we can do. And they did find that, for example, women who chemically straighten their hair more than twice per year, and typically this is every 3 months for most Black women, have a 2 to 4 times higher risk of uterine cancer.
Ah.
So, and they also saw the exact same correlation with stylists. Stylists are exposed to a lot of these chemicals with their fingers, right? If they're not wearing gloves or the gloves have holes or inhaling all of that stuff. So we know that these things are bad, and it's phthalates, it's all kinds of carcinogens in dye. Then the
Mm.
darker the dye, the higher the percentage. And a lot of Black women have dark hair, very
Aha.
dark, and they're Black.
Mm.
And then there's also other studies that showed that if you use permanent dye, this is the one that applied to us, you have also a higher risk. Now, it's not a significantly higher risk, but I think any increase in risk should make women pause and just say, do I really need this? Especially if you have a history of a certain cancer in your family, for example, right? That
Mhm.
causes increased risk of breast cancer and ovarian cancer.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
And this is one of the reasons also why I started my blog, because I have categories on my blog where I go over all the different allergens out there or carcinogens in products.
Mm-hmm.
Have an ingredients section, like how do you read a label, an ingredients list on a product so that you know what you're buying and putting on your skin, your scalp, and your hair.
You made the point to me earlier that the skin has a lot of pores, that it absorbs a lot.
That's right. And the scalp actually has more pores than the skin because there's more hair follicles. The hair
Mm,
follicles have openings. So if you imagine the scalp, if there are certain things that you would never put on your scalp because you're worried about it absorbing through on your skin, and you're worried
mhm.
about it absorbing on the skin on your arm, for example, imagine if you put some of those chemicals on your scalp, how many openings there are for it to seep in.
Mhm.
And a lot of people already have allergens. They're allergic to certain things. Some people are allergic to certain fragrances, which are very common allergies, actually. And a lot of hair products have very strong fragrances.
Mhm.
And fragrances, by the way, the manufacturers don't have to tell us what's in there. That's proprietary.
Oh boy.
So we don't know if something says perfume or fragrance, we don't exactly know what's in there. The stronger it is, the more there's in there that we don't know. So, which is why you should be really careful about what brands you support. Because
I
some
see.
brands, right, are very much focused on healthy, natural ingredients, and some brands, frankly, aren't.
And is there, or do you find, this greenwashing that they might say natural or something, and then with your scientific knowledge, you say, well, it's natural, but so's poison ivy, and you wouldn't put that on your, I mean, you have to also be careful of the labels being misleading.
It's unfortunate, right? Because how would you know if you're not a scientist? If something says natural on the label, you would assume that means healthy. But you're right. It actually does not mean that at all. Unless you turn that bottle over and start reading that list
Hmm.
of ingredients and understanding, at least for the most part, what's in there, you wouldn't know. And something could say, a product could say, let's say you want something with for hair growth, and it says serum with rosemary and biotin. And you're like, oh, this has got to be great. Now, if you don't turn that bottle over and you look in the list, where do the rosemary and the biotin show up in that list? Ingredients are always listed from the highest to the lowest. So the first 5 or 6 in that ingredients list, that makes up the bulk of the product. If
I
it's all the way at the end of that list, it might be present in 0.1%
Mm,
or less, right? Which means
mm.
it's not going to do anything. Rosemary is really good as a hair growth aid, but not in that such a tiny amount.
I see, I see. Do
So
you find also that the United States is a little bit more tricky in this kind of thing than Europe? I know some of the European cosmetics
mhm,
are more stringent. In general, is that a good rule of thumb?
that is a good rule of thumb. It is also my understanding that they have lower limits for certain chemicals that you're allowed to put in products and other items compared to the US. We have some of those limits as well, but our limits for some reason are higher.
Mhm.
So they're definitely more stringent in Europe, also when it comes to food. Yeah,
Ah,
that's
good to
absolutely
know.
true. Mhm.
I was surprised. I have a new hairstylist, and I have a very simple style, and but it's pretty. It has sort of a life of its own. And I was looking for some like kind of calming down something. She said, "I just use a little coconut oil," and I thought, "Wow." Okay, but you don't often get that from a salon. Usually they wanna sell you the $30 for an ounce something.
That's right.
Is that something you recommend, those kinds of household products?
So there's definitely a place for coconut oil, but you do have to be careful with it. Some people are very sensitive to it, and it is, if you don't have a lot of hair, it's very oily, right? It's going to
Mhm.
really flatten that hair. Now, with gray hair, what I have found as I went through the process of going gray for almost 3 years, Plus with the curls, curls are already on the dry side because we don't, the
Oh,
sebum just doesn't slide down the hair shaft like it does with straighter hair. And so going gray on top of that, gray hair is inherently also on the dry side. I had these wiry hairs just sprouting.
that's exactly what was happening. And I was on a Zoom call, and all of a sudden I see this thing encroaching in my vision. And it was one of these hairs that was doing sort of these
Standing
really,
straight up.
they were, I didn't know. And I thought it wouldn't be appropriate to just pull it out right there.
Oh, yeah, you definitely don't want to do that. But you know what it is? It's two things. When you stop using permanent dye, apparently semi-permanent and temporary colors are okay. They're not actually damaging, but the permanent hair dye is the bad one. Once you stop using that, your scalp actually starts breathing again, and you actually have new hair growth.
Oh
So
my
those are not broken off hairs. Those are all new hair growth is sprouting up. That's number
God.
one. Number two is we need more moisture. When you see that happening and there isn't enough moisture because the hair is drier, you have to really saturate it during your wash day. Use a deep conditioner. If you never used one before, you need to start using a deep conditioner, which is very moisturizing, meaning it has a lot of water soluble components. If you have thinner hair strands or thinner hair, it can have more oils and be a little bit heavier. If you have thick, coarse hair and thicker, denser hair. But then there's also things like be careful what shampoo you use because they're going to be more drying now. Be careful of the purple ones. Use a conditioner with a ton of slip so that when you put it in your hair, you will know when conditioner has a lot of slip and your hair just sort of, your fingers just sort of glide through the knots and they just melt. They just melt. It's amazing.
And what do you think about this combining the shampoo and conditioner
Oh,
together?
that's maybe good for some sportsy types, but not for us. But
Not
the
for us.
reason why I say that is because of the pH. So this is a little scientifically, but our ideal pH on our scalp and our hair is between about 4.5 and 5.5. So it's slightly acidic, right?
Oh,
pH 7 is neutral, that's water. When you use a shampoo, a lot of the shampoos on the market have a high pH. They're alkaline, so they're a pH like 8, which is very bad for your hair because it raises your cuticle layer. And if you have very oily hair that's straight, great, no problem. But if you have gray hair and dry on the drier side, it's going to make it even worse. So you want a shampoo that is more on the 6 to 7 range.
and how would you know that, Gaby? Is that something that they give? Is that information
The
that,
sad, that's the sad, sad part of all of this, Nicole, because the manufacturers are not required to put the pH on the bottle.
oh my goodness.
So I have pH strips because I'm nerdy like that. And I like to make a little solution and test it. Now I actually can tell because I have done so many experiments. I can tell if it has a high pH because the way my hair feels after I shampoo. It feels
I
terrible.
see.
It feels like Brillo pad.
Well, I have to wear, because I have a lot of body still, and then as you say, with the grays, I have to wear a hat, like a cap. I have like this
Oh,
little wool, little wool hat, and
yeah.
so to chill it out, because otherwise I look like I was electrocuted.
Now there's really easy fixes for the temporary fixes when the hairs are sprouting out because they will settle down. I promise you. Take a little mascara type of wand, dip
Ah,
it, either spray hairspray on it or dip it
okay.
in a gel, like a light
Yeah.
gel, and just smooth it down, and it will keep those crazy hairs down.
What do you think about aloe gel? Is that something you've
That
used?
that I have absolutely used that a lot. A lot of people are sensitive to either aloe or flaxseed or whatever. You will only know it for your hair. It's not universal. Everybody's different. Aloe, I can tolerate it as long as it's not the first ingredient in the list. So it has to be mixed in with
Ah,
other things. It's very good for your scalp. Aloe gel, it's excellent, excellent. I highly recommend it. Flaxseed gel is also excellent. My hair does not like flaxseed, but a lot of women do. You can make it yourself or you can buy a flaxseed gel product. My favorite is okra gel. The
oh.
gel that I use is predominantly the number one ingredient is okra gel, and it's my absolute favorite gel. My hair loves that. So everybody's different.
I know you're a big proponent of taking care of your scalp.
Yes. Yes. And that means clarifying. What does clarifying mean? It means if you don't regularly use a strong shampoo, which, like I said, gray curlies don't because it will ruin their hair. It's probably pretty important to clarify with either like an apple cider vinegar rinse or a product that contains apple cider vinegar, or something that has charcoal, or something for hard water. If you have hard water, that's a whole nother battle, I should add.
Oh boy, I got a lot of battles to fight here.
Yes, and
Yeah.
you have to really be aware, because you may say, "Why is my hair so dry?" And you have no idea it's because of the hard water. Everything else may be fine. All your products may be fine, but if you have hard water, there's very little you can do, except using products that contain chelating agents like EDTA. If you see EDTA in your shampoo and your conditioner, your deep conditioner, that at least will get rid of some of the hard metals in the hard water.
I see. Okay. This is all making sense. What are you a fan of these now? These are, super duper personalized shampoos and conditioners. Is that something that you're
That's a great question. I think it's a fabulous marketing strategy.
okay?
And I can see the appeal, but when I saw the cost, I said, "Oh, absolutely not.
It's like
Absolutely not." Yeah.
it's insane.
It's very smart. It's very clever. But I can assure you, Nicole, there are so many good products out there that will do exactly the same thing. But you need to know what they are. I understand some people may not be able to figure that out.
Are you feeling comfortable to talk about companies that we should lean towards, or is that not a kosher thing, given your position as a scientist?
Yeah, I'm always a little wary, although I don't mind mentioning companies that I think do a really good job and that I use myself, the product.
Okay.
So one of my favorites is EcoSlay. They're all about natural. This lady makes things in her kitchen. I mean, it's amazing. She has a whole organization and she has a bazillion devoted fans. But
And
sometimes
it's EcoSlay, SLAY.
that's right.
Ah,
Gorgeous website. I love her stuff, especially the gel. I also really love Bounce Curl, 2 words. The scent is phenomenal, and they also do a really good job as trying to be as clean as possible.
Okay.
There's a few others, but those are my 2 top favorites right now.
That's good to know, and I can put those in the show notes. Any last words for those of us who, I look in the mirror and I'm a dark brunette, and I look and I say, there's some interesting colors going on in there. I do not even recognize there. I mean, I've always had like a little red, but now there's like different, just like a whole, smorgasbord. Is that a typical development as one ages, that you get different colors?
That's interesting. That's a little bit unusual if all of your dye has been already long grown out.
Sure.
That's interesting. I wonder, do you use purple products?
No.
Okay. Are you in the sun a lot?
Not particularly. I'm in upstate New York.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
It's just,
interesting.
there's reds, now there's like blacks, and there's browns, and it just looks a little bit more mixed up.
That's interesting. That's a little bit unusual.
Okay, well,
It's usually just different shades of gray and white.
okay.
Depending
Well,
on what you use.
we have to accept what we get, I think, right?
I think so.
So one
It
of the
sounds
things that you do for people, Gaby, which is so helpful, is you have a whole, like, your own clearinghouse about how to take care of hair, your recommendations. Can you let our listeners know how to find out more about that?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So my one blog is absolutely everything curly, and
Okay.
it has a ton of information that is free for everyone. which was very carefully researched, scientifically backed. I want it to be a place where someone can go and believe what they're reading, as opposed to the 20 other blogs that have conflicting information and not knowing which is right. And then, if they are so inclined, there is a subscription a
Mm-hmm.
membership that's available. What that membership gives you is access to the salon database for, especially for curlies. This is a big deal because most of us had our hair butchered several times over the
Mm-hmm.
years, because cutting curly hair can be tricky because it's so has so much elasticity. So you may cut half an inch and it shoots up 2 inches.
Aha.
So there's a database with over 1,250 stylists from all around the US, vetted stylists, curly hair stylists. You also get access to all of our ultimate guides. So, what is an ultimate guide? It's a guide that was put together. Let's say you're looking for a new deep conditioner for your hair type. Where do you even start? Are you going to follow influencers, just buy what they recommend, or do you want to do it in a more deliberate, scientific way? Well, if
Mm-hmm.
you do, I have a deep conditioner guide that I put together. It probably has over 100 deep conditioners, which is pretty much the majority of deep conditioners out there, that
Mm-hmm.
I pulled together from my database that has over 7,500 hair products.
Wow.
So I'm able to search by ingredients, by product. So when you buy a deep conditioner guide, you can either just purchase a guide for $10, or it's all part of the subscription fee, which is only $49 for the entire year. You get access to all 20 guides for every
Wow.
product you can imagine. So you can look at that deep conditioner guide and immediately pick out the ones that would work for your hair, because I've indicated whether they are for thin hair or thick hair, whether they have aloe or coconut, protein, all these other things.
Mm-hmm.
So very quickly you can figure out, okay, this is not going to work for me. That's going to work for me. This is not going to work for me. And if you're not sure, I also have a 20-minute consultation to walk you through everything
Wow.
with the membership. I think it's pretty generous.
That is pretty generous. And, you are a PhD scientist. It's
That's
not
right.
like, you just scrolled Facebook and threw some stuff together. So
That's right.
that's just really great to point out. One last question about that. Generally, can you get what you need at the supermarket, or would you recommend going into the salon or online
Well,
purchasing?
there are a lot of good products right in the supermarket. And in fact, I think it's under the hair care category. For every product, I've also indicated drugstore brands, the best drugstore
Wow.
brands for leave-ins, for gels, for whatever it is. Um, they're and indicated whether they are curly girl friendly or not. Curly girl method is like a whole nother terminology, which is a for people who are just starting out with curly hair. It's a good way to start.
Mm-hmm.
It just simplifies things, and it cuts out a lot of bad things like sulfates and water insoluble silicones and other things.
Ah,
But yeah, there are a ton of very good drugstore brands. Of course, the two that I mentioned are actually not in the drugstore, but that's
right.
personal preference. But my Shea Moisture conditioner, my Jamaican Black Castor Oil conditioner, which is my holy grail conditioner, that's right in the supermarket. So I use a mixture of different things.
Hmm. Wow. Well,
Mhm.
it's been really wonderful talking to you and learning about I
Mm.
mean, it's such a, like, I'm not surprised that you need a scientific background to understand this. It's really in depth, and it's probably purposely confusing.
I think that's true, and I completely understand why people might be confused and say, you know what, I can't even deal with all this. I'm just going to
Mm.
straighten my hair and be done with it,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
right?
Right,
But it
right.
doesn't have to be that way. I promise, it really doesn't.
So again, absolutely everything curly, and is that .com?
.com. That's right.
Okay, perfect. I'll put that in the show notes.
Great.
And thank you so much for taking time to help us out with this. I mean, even though we're all busy and we're doing things that are not all about our appearance. We still want to look nice. And, and our hair is such an important part of that. So I really appreciate you coming on and talking to us today.
It was a pleasure, and I really appreciate you having me on the show.
Thank you so much for joining us on Zestful Aging. If you like the podcast, please share it with some of your friends. If you think decluttering could help you feel better and you could use a little assistance with that, check out the online course I've developed with professional organizer and designer Carrie Luderin. It's called Too Much Stuff. And Too Much Stuff is different from other courses or articles or guidance you may have used up. We give you clear steps to deal with the clutter and the tools to help you face the overwhelming feelings and the emotions that come up when we're going through our clutter. And a lot of those emotions are just feeling anxious or guilty or just basically flooded with a lot of different confusing feelings. The course is really practical. It's realistic. The lessons are short and punchy, and they're really manageable. We're not trying to set you up for some long exploratory, super in-depth, burdensome experience. We want something really helpful for you right now. We all need help with our anxiety. So being surrounded by more calm and less chaos can really help. So now's a good time to clear out the clutter so we can focus on what's really important in our lives. So find out more at zestfulaging.com. You'll see more about this under the web courses tab. If you have any questions, just shoot me an email at zestfulaging@gmail.com. Thanks so much. And stay tuned next week for another interview with a fascinating and inspiring guest.